The small village of Green Hollow rested beside a wide forest where the trees grew tall and old. Among them stood a grand oak tree that seemed older than the village itself. Its wide branches stretched toward the sky, and its roots were thick as stone. The villagers called it the Elder Oak, and they said it had been there since the first people built their homes beside the stream. In a little cottage at the edge of the forest lived an elderly woman named Mara. She lived alone, but she was not lonely. She loved the forest, the sound of the leaves in the wind and the calls of birds every morning. Every day she walked along the narrow path that ran through the trees. She carried a small basket to collect herbs, mushrooms, or flowers that she dried for tea. The villagers often saw her walking with a quiet smile, her old shawl wrapped around her shoulders, and her gray hair tied neatly behind her head. One cold morning, the sky was gray and a light mist covered the ground. The air smelled of rain and earth. Mara took her usual path toward the elder oak. She liked to sit beneath its wide shade whenever she felt tired. The oak had always given her a strange comfort, as if it were alive and watching over her. She often whispered her thoughts to it when no one was around. That day, as she walked closer, she felt something different in the air. The forest was quiet. The birds were silent, and even the wind had stopped. Only the soft sound of her steps on the damp ground could be heard. She reached the oak and placed her hand on its trunk, feeling the rough bark under her fingers. She smiled gently and whispered, "You have grown even stronger this year." Her eyes caught something unusual near the base of the tree. A patch of bark looked smoother than the rest. It was shaped almost like a small door. Mara frowned softly and leaned closer. The shape was clear, as if carved with care, but she had never seen it before. She ran her fingers around its edge. The surface felt warm, unlike the rest of the tree. A faint shimmer crossed the bark. Mara blinked and looked again. The smooth wood seemed to glow for a moment before turning still. She thought it might be her old eyes playing tricks, but when she touched it again, the shimmer returned. It pulsed faintly under her hand like a heartbeat. Her heart started to beat faster. She looked around, but the forest was still silent. Her curiosity, stronger than her fear, made her press her palm against the tiny shape. There was a soft sound like a sigh, and the smooth wood moved. It slid open soundlessly, revealing a small opening no bigger than a loaf of bread. Inside, faint blue light glowed from within the hollow tree. Mara gasped softly. She hesitated, but her curiosity would not let her leave. She bent closer and peered into the opening. The inside of the oak was hollow but not dark. The light inside pulsed gently, coming from small veins running along the inner wood. They looked like glowing roots spreading downward. She touched the edge of the opening. The glow spread slightly as if welcoming her. She whispered to herself, "How strange, what are you hiding, old one?" The forest was still quiet, but the silence no longer felt empty. It felt watchful, like the oak was waiting for her to make a choice. Mara looked around once more, took a slow breath, and decided to see more. She reached her hand inside the opening. The air was warm and soft, not like the cold air outside. It felt alive. When she pulled her hand back, a small spark of light followed her fingers before fading away. She stared at her hand, amazed. Her wrinkled skin glowed faintly for a second, then returned to normal. She had lived her whole life in this forest, but she had never seen anything like this. Mara sat down beside the oak, her back resting against its thick roots. She looked at the small door, now open, glowing softly in the dim light. Her mind was full of questions. Was this magic? Was it something left by the people who planted the forest long ago? She had heard stories from her grandmother about spirits who lived in trees, but she had never believed them fully. After a few minutes, the light inside began to fade slightly, like a candle burning low. Mara leaned closer again, afraid that it might disappear. She placed her hand near the edge, and the glow brightened again, stronger this time. It felt almost like the tree was reacting to her presence. Her heart filled with wonder. She whispered, "Are you trying to speak to me?" There was no voice, but the light pulsed 3 times, steady and calm. She smiled faintly. "I will take that as a yes." For a long time she sat there, watching the glow move like water. The warmth from inside the oak seemed to ease her old bones. She felt peaceful, as if she were sitting beside an old friend. When the light began to dim again, Mara slowly stood. She touched the small door gently, and to her surprise it closed on its own, sealing the opening until it looked like part of the bark again. The shimmer faded, leaving only rough wood. If someone else passed by, they would never have noticed anything special about it. but Mara had seen it. She had touched it, and she could not forget the warmth she had felt. That night, as she sat by her small fireplace, she kept thinking about the oak. She wondered if it had been waiting for her all along. She remembered the way it had pulsed under her hand, the way the glow had responded to her touch. She felt as though something deep and ancient had reached out to her. She poured herself a cup of tea and stared at the flames. "You're too old to believe in fairy tales," she told herself softly. But even as she said it, she could not ignore the truth. The oak had shown her something real. Before going to bed, she looked out the window toward the dark forest. The shape of the elder oak stood tall against the night sky, its crown swaying gently in the wind. For a brief moment, she thought she saw a soft blue light flicker near its base. She smiled quietly, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. The next morning, she decided to visit again. She packed a small bag with bread, fruit, and a lantern. The path was damp from the night's rain, and the scent of wet earth filled the air. As she walked, the sun rose slowly behind the trees, casting golden light through the leaves. When she reached the oak, she placed her hand on its trunk. The bark was warm again, and the faint shimmer returned. The small door appeared once more, opening slightly on its own. This time Mara did not hesitate. She crouched down and looked inside. The same soft blue light shone within, but now it seemed deeper, like a tunnel leading down. She could feel the gentle hum of energy coming from the opening. It reminded her of the sound of a heartbeat, slow and steady. She took a deep breath, her old heart beating with excitement and fear together. She spoke softly. "If you wish to show me something, I will go." The light pulsed once, as if in answer. She smiled and reached forward. Her hand disappeared into the glow. It was warm and gentle, like sunlight through water. Then, before she could change her mind, she leaned closer and stepped through the tiny door. Inside, everything went quiet. The forest outside vanished, replaced by soft blue light that surrounded her completely. The air felt thick but calm, filled with a quiet hum. She turned slowly, realizing she was inside the tree itself. The walls glowed faintly with patterns like roots and veins, all pulsing with life. Mara took another step forward. The floor was smooth, the light beneath it shifting as she moved. The tunnel stretched ahead, leading downward into the heart of the oak. She felt no fear now, only awe. She placed one hand on the glowing wall, feeling it pulse under her palm. It was warm, alive, and full of a strange energy she could not describe. The light ahead brightened, and she saw what looked like a small chamber waiting below. Something was glowing in its center, brighter than anything she had ever seen. Mara's eyes widened as she stepped forward, her heart full of wonder. She had thought her life held no more surprises, yet here she was, walking through a living tree that seemed to hold secrets from another world. She whispered softly, "What are you, old one?" The air around her seemed to hum in reply, and the faint sound of a voice brushed her ears. It was not loud, not clear, but it carried warmth and calmness. She could not understand the words, but the meaning touched her heart. Mara smiled through the soft glow. Whatever this was, it was no dream. The oak had chosen her, and she was ready to learn why. And so began her journey into the heart of the ancient oak, a journey that would soon change everything she believed about life, memory, and the bond between humans and the world they lived in. Mara stood inside the glowing passage, her breath slow and steady. The air around her felt warm and soft, unlike the cool morning breeze outside. Every wall of the oak glowed faintly, pulsing like the beat of a heart. Thin lines of blue light moved along the surface, twisting like living veins that carried some kind of energy. She ran her hand over them and felt a gentle vibration travel up her arm. The tunnel ahead curved downward, and a faint hum filled the air. It was not loud but constant, like a soft song coming from deep within the tree. Mara took a deep breath and began to move forward one step at a time. Her shoes made no sound. The floor was smooth and slightly warm. She could feel the life of the oak under her feet, a steady pulse that made her feel both calm and amazed. After walking a short distance, she reached a small opening that led to a round chamber. It was larger than she expected, tall enough for her to stand straight. The glow here was stronger, filling the air with a soft blue mist that sparkled gently. In the center of the chamber floated a crystal-like object, shaped like a sphere with silver roots wrapped around it. It spun slowly, casting light across the walls. The light reflected in her eyes, and she felt tears forming without knowing why. She whispered softly, What is this place? As if hearing her voice, the light inside the sphere grew brighter. The hum changed its rhythm, sounding almost like music. Mara stepped closer, feeling warmth wash over her face. When she reached out her hand, the sphere reacted. The blue light stretched toward her fingers, forming small threads of light that touched her skin. Images began to form in front of her eyes. They floated in the air like smoke turning into pictures. She saw a green valley filled with people planting trees. Children laughed while elders taught them to care for the soil. Then the scene shifted to a small village much like hers. She recognized the stream, the hills, and even the place where her cottage now stood. But everything looked newer, untouched, full of life. She saw more images, humans walking beside tall beings of light who looked both strange and kind. They seemed to speak without words. They helped the humans plant seeds that glowed faintly before being buried in the ground. The beings placed their hands on the earth and the seeds sprouted into saplings at once. Those saplings grew into strong trees within moments, glowing softly under the sun. Mara's eyes widened as she watched. The beings of light were showing her something from long ago. The villagers bowed to them, and the beings placed their hands over their hearts before vanishing into the light. The trees they planted remained, their roots shining deep underground. Then the images faded, and Mara found herself looking again at the floating sphere. Her heart was beating fast. She felt she had just seen a memory from the past, one older than any story she had ever heard. She sat down on one of the smooth roots that formed a seat beside the wall. The hum of the tree grew softer, almost like it wanted her to rest. She closed her eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. She could still see the images in her mind. After a while, the sphere pulsed again. Another set of images appeared. This time she saw people cutting trees, building houses, and digging deep into the ground. The once green valley became dull and empty. The glowing trees were cut down one after another. The ground turned dry. The beings of light did not appear again. The last glowing tree stood alone, its light fading slowly until it became still. Mara felt her heart ache. She reached toward the fading image and whispered, "I am sorry." The sphere pulsed once more, and the hum changed again. The light in the chamber became brighter, and for a brief moment the walls seemed to breathe. Then from the far side of the chamber a soft sound echoed. It was a voice, faint but clear. "Mara," she froze. The voice had spoken her name. Her eyes widened as she turned toward the sound. There, near the glowing sphere, stood a figure made entirely of light. Its shape was tall and graceful, like a person wrapped in a moving mist of silver and blue. The figure did not walk, but floated slightly above the ground. Mara took a cautious step forward. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The figure tilted its head. Its voice was calm and warm. "I am the guardian of the oak. I have slept for many years, waiting for the one who would awaken the heart of this tree." Mara felt her throat tighten. "The heart of the tree?" The guardian nodded. "Long ago, the people of this land lived in harmony with the travelers from the stars. Together they planted the memory trees. These trees hold the emotions, hopes, and memories of those who cared for the world. The elder oak is one of them. It has waited in silence for generations, hoping to feel the touch of kindness again." Mara's eyes filled with tears. "Why me? I'm just an old woman." The guardian's form shimmered. "Because you have cared when others forgot. You speak to the trees, you walk gently upon the soil, and your heart still carries warmth for all living things. The oak felt that warmth and called to you." Mara lowered her gaze. She had never thought her small actions mattered, yet here, she stood inside a living miracle. She said quietly, "I only did what felt right." "That is what matters most," the guardian replied. "The world remembers kindness even when time forgets names." Mara stepped closer to the glowing sphere. "What is this? Why show me all of this?" The guardian extended a hand toward the sphere. The light inside it brightened, and thin streams of blue energy flowed along the walls. "This is the core of the oak's memory. It holds the stories of your ancestors. The oak remembers every hand that planted, every voice that sang, and every heart that cared. But its light has dimmed because the world above has forgotten those bonds." Mara looked around the chamber. "Then can I help? Can I bring back its light?" The guardian smiled faintly, its form flickering like a calm flame. "Perhaps you already have. By stepping into this place, by listening, by remembering, you have awakened what was sleeping. But the oak still holds pain. It remembers loss and silence. It needs hope once more." Mara nodded slowly. "Then show me what I must do." The guardian moved closer, its light wrapping around her like a gentle wind. You must share what you have seen. You must remind your people that this world is alive, that even the oldest trees listen and remember. The oak will lend you its strength to do so. Mara felt warmth spread through her chest. Her old heart felt lighter, stronger. She placed her hand on the glowing sphere, and for a moment she saw flashes of faces she knew. Children playing near the forest, villagers chopping wood, farmers tilling the soil. The light around her flickered with their images. The guardian's voice echoed softly. Each life touches the next. Each act of care keeps the light alive. That is the bond between humankind and the world. Mara nodded, her eyes wet. I understand. The light in the chamber dimmed slightly. The guardian's form began to fade. You must return now, Mara. The forest above is waiting. But remember this. Whenever you touch the oak, it will hear your heart, and it will answer. As the figure vanished, the glowing sphere began to spin faster. The blue light filled the chamber completely. The hum grew louder, then softer again, like the final note of a song. When the light faded, Mara found herself standing near the entrance tunnel. The walls still glowed faintly, but the way back was clear. She turned once to look behind her. The chamber was still and calm, the sphere now resting quietly at the center. She placed her hand on her chest, feeling her heartbeat match the slow pulse of the tree. She whispered, "Thank you." Then she began her walk back through the tunnel. Each step she took made the walls glow gently, as if the oak was lighting her path home. The air felt cooler now, and she could smell the faint scent of soil and leaves again. When she reached the small opening, she saw sunlight streaming in. She crawled out and found herself at the base of the great oak once more. The tiny door behind her closed, sealing the entrance. The bark looked ordinary again, but she could still feel warmth coming from it. She sat down beside the roots, her basket beside her, and watched the forest wake around her. Birds began to sing. The wind moved through the branches, carrying a soft sound like a whisper. Mara smiled. She placed her palm on the trunk and spoke softly. I will tell them. I promise. For a moment, the bark under her hand pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The old woman stayed there for a long time, her eyes calm and bright. She now understood that the forest was not only alive but aware. It remembered kindness, it remembered love, and it had chosen her to remind the world of it once more. The elder oak stood tall behind her, glowing faintly in the morning light, its roots deep and strong, holding stories older than time. Mara woke the next morning with a strange feeling in her heart. She had slept deeply for the first time in years. When she opened her eyes, she could still feel the warmth of the glowing light from inside the oak. The sound of the guardian's voice echoed softly in her memory, telling her to remind others that the world was alive and listening. She sat by her window and looked out toward the forest. The elder oak stood tall among the mist, its great branches spread wide. A faint shimmer moved across its bark, visible only when the sunlight touched it just right. She smiled gently. The oak was awake now, and she could feel its presence even from here. After her morning tea, she put on her shawl and walked toward the village. The path was quiet, covered with fallen leaves. As she walked, she noticed something she had never seen before. The birds seemed to follow her, flying from branch to branch, chirping softly as if greeting her. A small squirrel ran beside the path and paused to look at her before disappearing up a tree. The air itself felt full of life. When she reached the village, she found a few neighbors near the well. They greeted her warmly as they always did, but today she felt different. She wanted to tell them what she had seen, yet she knew they might not believe her. People in the village often laughed at stories of magic and spirits. But Mara remembered the guardian's words. The world remembered kindness even if people forgot. One of the villagers, a young man named Ryan, noticed her thoughtful face. Mara, you look like you've seen something special, he said with a smile. Has the forest told you another of its secrets? She looked at him for a moment before nodding. Yes, Ryan, I think it has. He chuckled lightly. You always have stories. Tell us, what did the trees say this time? Mara hesitated, then spoke softly. They said they remember us. They remember every good thing we do. The oak, the great one in the forest, it holds our memories. It watches and waits for us to listen again. The villagers looked at her with curiosity. A few smiled politely, thinking she spoke in riddles, but one or two listened with quiet interest. An older man named Dalen leaned on his walking stick and said, My grandmother used to say that same thing. She believed the old trees were guardians. Perhaps there is truth in it. Mara nodded. There is truth, Dalen. I saw it with my own eyes. She did not speak of the glowing door or the guardian's form, but her words carried calm certainty. The villagers saw that in her eyes. They could feel she truly believed what she said. After a while, they returned to their chores, but the seed of curiosity had been planted in their hearts. That evening, Mara walked back toward the oak. The sun was setting and golden light filled the forest. She carried a small basket of flowers and placed them at the base of the tree. She whispered, I spoke your message, old one. They may not believe yet, but they listened. A faint blue glow spread through the bark where her hand touched it. She smiled, knowing the oak had heard her. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke from behind her. You came back. Mara turned quickly. The air shimmered and the guardian appeared again, glowing faintly in the dusk. Its form was softer now, less bright, but filled with the same calm energy. Mara bowed her head slightly. I promised I would. I did as you asked, the guardian nodded. And the forest is grateful. The energy of the oak has grown stronger. Your words have begun to awaken the memories that sleep within the land. Mara looked around at the trees. Can they all hear me? They can, the guardian said gently. Every tree is connected through the roots beneath your feet. When you speak with kindness, they all listen. The forest remembers your voice. Mara smiled softly. It feels alive now. I can sense it even when I am not here. The guardian's form shimmered. That is because you carry a part of the oak's light within you. When you touched its heart, it shared a piece of its memory with you. You are now its messenger, Mara. Mara felt warmth in her chest like a small light burning quietly. What do you wish me to do? Continue to speak, said the guardian. Teach others to listen, not with their ears, but with their hearts. The world needs to remember its bond with life. Humanity has always been strong, but true strength lies not only in power, but in care. Mara thought for a moment. But I am only one person. I am old. My voice is small. The guardian's tone was calm but firm. Even the smallest voice can carry far when it speaks truth. Long ago, when our kind visited this world, we saw that humans had something rare. You felt deeply, you dreamed, and you fought to protect what you loved. That is why we chose you as keepers of the memory trees. But time has dimmed that light. It can shine again if you remind them of who they are. Mara looked up at the tall oak. You believe in us even after so long? The guardian nodded. Yes, humans forget, but they always find their way back. You care more than you know. Every act of kindness feeds the roots of the world. Every moment of love strengthens the light within it. You are the hope of the living earth. Mara felt tears in her eyes. I will do my best. I will not let this gift fade again. The guardian lifted one glowing hand and the light from its palm touched her forehead. She felt warmth spread through her mind, filling her with peace. When she opened her eyes, she could see faint, glowing patterns on the ground, lines of light stretching in every direction like a web beneath the soil. The guardian spoke again. These are the roots of the world. They connect every tree, every plant, every living thing. The forest breathes as one. Now you can see it as we do. Mara stared in awe. The entire forest seemed alive with energy. The roots shimmered softly, flowing toward the horizon. It is beautiful, she whispered. It is your world's memory, the guardian said. And it is fragile. Many forget that when they harm one part, the rest feels the pain. But you can help them remember. Mara nodded slowly. How? Tell them stories, the guardian replied. Stories have power. They carry truth in ways words alone cannot. Tell them about the forest, about the oak, about how the world listens. Even if they do not believe, their hearts will remember. The light will grow again through them. Mara smiled through her tears. I have told stories all my life. Maybe now I know why. The guardian's light brightened. That is why the oak chose you. You carry memory in your voice. You are the bridge between the world of men and the heart of the earth. The sound of the wind passed through the forest again. The leaves shimmered, glowing faintly in the fading light. Mara could feel their warmth, their quiet joy. The guardian began to fade once more. I must return to the roots now. The oak's heart is healing, but it needs time. Remember, Mara, you are not alone. The trees will guide you when you speak truth. They will help you carry the message. Mara bowed her head. Thank you. I will not forget. When the guardian vanished, the air around her glowed softly for a few moments before turning calm again. Mara sat under the oak for a while, thinking about what she had seen and heard. The idea that she carried a part of the oak's light within her filled her heart with strength. As the stars began to appear, she rose and started her walk home. Along the path, she noticed small sparks of light glowing in the roots beside her feet. It looked as if the forest was lighting her way. When she reached her cottage, she sat near the fire and opened her old notebook. It was filled with memories, recipes, and stories she had written over the years. She turned to a blank page and began to write what she had seen. Her hands trembled slightly, but her heart was steady. She wrote about the glowing roots, the voices of the forest, and the guardian's words. She wrote about how humans were meant to protect life, not just use it. She wrote that kindness was not small, that every good act gave strength to the world. When she finished, she felt calm. She looked out her window at the dark forest. The elder oak stood like a silent guardian watching over everything. Its faint blue light flickered among the branches. In that moment, Mara understood that her journey had just begun. The forest had chosen her not for her strength, but for her heart. She would spend the rest of her days spreading the message she had been given. The next morning, she would start by telling the children, for they were the ones who still listened with open hearts. She knew that if they learned to care for the trees, the future would remember the light once more. The guardian's words echoed gently in her mind as she blew out the lamp. The world remembers kindness. Mara smiled in the dark and whispered, "Then I will make sure it never forgets again." Outside, the elder oak glowed softly under the moonlight. The wind carried a faint hum through its leaves, a song of peace and remembrance that spread through every root, every branch, and every corner of the forest. The light beneath the earth grew brighter, reaching quietly toward the distant stars. The next morning came with soft sunlight pouring through Mara's window. The air smelled fresh after a light rain during the night. Birds chirped outside and the forest seemed full of life. Mara rose from her bed feeling lighter than she had in years. The glow of the oak still lived in her heart, a soft warmth that never faded. She looked at her notebook where she had written everything she saw inside the oak. The words on the page looked almost alive, glowing faintly in the morning light. She smiled softly and whispered, "The guardian was right. Stories carry the truth." After breakfast, she walked toward the village square. Children played near the well while the adults worked in their gardens or tended to animals. Mara called the children over. Her kind voice always drew them close. They loved listening to her stories, and she always had a gentle smile for each of them. They sat around her as she began to speak. "Do you know why the trees sing when the wind blows?" she asked. The children shook their heads, curious. Mara smiled. "It is because they remember us. The trees carry the stories of the world. Every time someone shows kindness, every time someone plants a seed, the trees remember." A little girl named Lani raised her hand. "Do the trees remember bad things too?" Mara nodded slowly. "Yes, little one, they do. But they do not hold anger. They keep memories so the world can learn. They hope humans will remember what love and care feel like." The children listened with wide eyes. Mara told them about how trees shared their strength through their roots, how every plant and creature was part of one great memory. She did not speak of the guardian or the glowing light, but she shared the lesson behind it. As she spoke, a soft wind moved through the village, and the trees at the edge of the forest rustled gently as if listening. Some of the villagers paused their work to watch. Mara's words carried calmness, and the people who heard her felt something stir inside, something they could not explain. By the time the story ended, the children were smiling and asking more questions. Mara promised to tell them another story the next day. As they ran off to play, she sat quietly on the bench, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. That evening, as she walked back to her cottage, she felt the ground hum softly beneath her feet. The same gentle rhythm she had felt inside the oak pulsed faintly through the soil. The roots were listening. The forest was awake. When she reached the elder oak, she placed her hand on the trunk and spoke softly. "I told them." The children listened. "They will remember." The bark under her hand pulsed once, glowing faintly. Mara smiled. She sat under the tree and the glow grew brighter around her. The air became warm and the soft voice of the guardian filled her mind. "You have done well, Mara," the voice said. "The light grows stronger. The oak has begun to remember the joy of humankind. But there is more it wishes to show you." The small door appeared once more at the base of the trunk. It opened silently and the same blue glow filled the air. Mara's heart beat faster, but she felt no fear. She rose slowly and stepped through the opening once again. Inside, the glowing tunnel welcomed her like an old friend. The hum was stronger now, clearer. The light that flowed along the walls pulsed in a steady rhythm. Mara walked deeper into the oak, following the same path she had taken before. When she reached the main chamber, the crystal sphere floated in the center once more. Its light was brighter than before, and the silver roots around it moved slightly, as if alive. The guardian appeared beside it, calm and radiant. "Welcome back," it said warmly. Mara bowed her head. "I have missed this place. It feels like home." The guardian raised a glowing hand and the sphere brightened. "The oak has chosen to share its gift with you. You have given it hope. Now it will return what was lost." Mara tilted her head. "Return what was lost?" The guardian stepped aside and the sphere released a wave of light that filled the chamber. The glow surrounded Mara, lifting her gently from the ground. The air shimmered with color. Images began to form around her once again, but this time they were not ancient. They were hers. She saw herself as a young woman walking hand in hand with her husband, smiling under the same oak tree. She saw her children playing near the roots, laughing as they tried to climb the low branches. She saw her late husband building their small cottage, his eyes full of love when he looked at her. Mara gasped softly as tears filled her eyes. The images felt real, alive, as if she were living them again. The wind in her hair, the warmth of sunlight, the laughter of her family, it all returned so clearly that her heart ached with both joy and sorrow. The guardian spoke gently. "The oak carries your memories as it carries all others. Those moments of love, of kindness, gave it strength. When you were young, your care for the forest helped it grow. It remembers you, Mara." She wiped her tears, whispering, "I had forgotten how bright those days were." The guardian moved closer. "The world never forgets the love that humans share. Even when life fades, the memory remains in the roots and the air. That is why you were chosen, to remember not only for yourself but for all." Mara looked around as the visions continued. She saw her mother teaching her to plant flowers, her father carving wooden toys, the whole village working together during harvest time. Each image filled the chamber with color and warmth. She whispered, "It was so beautiful. We cared for each other." The guardian nodded. "That is the gift of memory. It reminds humans of who they truly are. You may feel small and old, but your love has lived in every seed you planted, in every word you spoke with kindness. The oak remembers it all." The sphere pulsed brighter. The light gathered into a single thread that touched Mara's chest right over her heart. The warmth spread through her body. It was gentle but strong. She felt her pain ease, her tiredness fade. For the first time in many years, her steps felt light. The guardian smiled softly. "The oak gives you a part of its strength. It cannot change your years, but it can fill your spirit with peace. This is the gift it offers in return for your care." Mara closed her eyes, letting the warmth wash over her. When she opened them, the chamber seemed even brighter. She could see faint lines of light flowing through the walls, like the veins of the world itself. The guardian spoke again. "There will be times when the world feels heavy. When that happens, come to the oak and it will share your burden. Its heart beats with yours now." Mara smiled through her tears. "Thank you. I will keep this gift safe." The light around her began to fade slowly. The images of her past grew softer until they disappeared into the glow of the sphere. The guardian looked at her one last time. "Remember, Mara, memory is more than the past. It is the seed of the future. Share it, and the light will grow." The sphere pulsed once more, and the chamber filled with gentle warmth. Then slowly the glow faded, and Mara found herself standing at the tunnel entrance again. The way back was clear, and she could see sunlight streaming from the small door ahead. She stepped out into the open air. The forest looked brighter than before, the leaves shimmering as if touched by the same light that had filled the oak's heart. The tiny door closed behind her, leaving the bark smooth again. Mara walked around the oak slowly, feeling the soft hum under her feet. The air was alive with energy. She could hear faint whispers in the rustling leaves, gentle voices of memory speaking through the wind. That evening, she sat by the fire in her cottage. The warmth in her chest remained soft and steady. She opened her notebook again and began to write the story of what she had seen. Every word flowed easily as if guided by unseen hands. She described the memories, the guardian, and the gift the oak had shared with her. When she finished, she closed her eyes and felt the quiet peace of the forest surrounding her. She knew the oak was listening. The next day, she returned to the village and told her story to anyone who would listen. Some believed her, some smiled politely, and others thought it was only a tale. But as she spoke, they all felt calm. Even those who doubted could not deny the peace her words brought. The children continued to visit her, asking for more stories about the forest and the oak. Mara taught them to plant small saplings near their homes and to care for them as friends. The forest began to grow thicker and greener each day. Flowers bloomed early that year, and the stream ran clearer than ever before. The villagers noticed these changes. They began to plant more trees, to walk gently on the soil, and to speak with kindness. Slowly, the entire village started to live in harmony with the forest once again. At night, when the stars shone bright above, Mara often stood outside her cottage and looked toward the elder oak. Its faint blue light glowed softly among the trees. She knew it was watching, remembering, and smiling. The gift of memory had done more than heal her heart. It had awakened a bond that had slept for generations. The world was beginning to remember itself, and as the gentle wind moved through the branches, Mara could hear the faint echo of the guardian's voice in her heart. "You have done well, child of the earth." The light grows once more. The morning sun rose slowly over Green Hollow, casting golden light across the village and the edge of the forest. Mara stepped outside her cottage and felt the warmth of the sun on her face. She had slept peacefully, dreaming of the elder oak and the glowing memories it had shared. The hum of life beneath her feet reminded her that the forest was awake and waiting. She decided to visit the oak again. Her heart had grown stronger since the last time she stepped into its hollow. The oak had given her a gift of memory, a bond with the world that filled her with energy she had never felt in her old age. As she walked along the familiar path, she noticed the children of the village tending to their small saplings. Their hands were gentle, their laughter full of hope. Mara smiled, realizing the oak's message had begun to spread. When she reached the elder oak, she stopped for a moment to gaze at its grand trunk. The bark shimmered faintly in the sunlight. The tiny door that had first appeared to her was visible once more, small and inviting. Mara felt her heart beat faster with a mix of excitement and reverence. She placed her hand on the smooth wood, and the door opened silently, revealing the familiar blue glow. She stepped inside, feeling the warmth immediately. The air was soft and filled with the gentle hum she had come to recognize. She walked through the glowing tunnel with confidence, her steps light, guided by the pulse of the oak. The light along the walls danced as if welcoming her back. When she entered the main chamber, the crystal sphere floated before her, spinning slowly and casting streams of blue and silver light across the walls. The guardian appeared beside it, glowing softly. Mara felt a wave of calm wash over her. "Welcome back, Mara," the guardian said warmly. "I am ready," Mara replied. "I have come to learn more, to understand." The guardian nodded. "You have shared the gift of memory with the world above. The oak grows stronger because of your care, but there is more it wishes to reveal. You will see the future as it may be if humans remember their bond with the earth." The sphere brightened, releasing threads of light that surrounded Mara. They swirled around her like ribbons of energy. She felt her heart lift as visions formed in the air. Unlike the memories she had seen before, these images were of the future. She saw the village growing in harmony with the forest. Trees stretched tall and green, and children played safely among them. Streams sparkled with clean water. Birds of many colors filled the sky. She saw the villagers planting new saplings every season, their hearts full of care and respect for life. Mara's eyes filled with tears of joy. "It is beautiful," she whispered. The guardian spoke gently. "This is one way the world can be. Humans have the power to choose. They can remember or forget. The oak shows you this because it wishes for humans to remember. It has chosen you to remind them." The images shifted, and Mara saw paths where humans ignored the world around them. Forests were thin and dry, streams ran muddy, and birds and animals disappeared. She saw humans arguing and fighting over small things while the earth suffered quietly. Mara's heart ached, but she understood the lesson. "I see," she said softly. "The world will only remain alive if we care for it. The future depends on us." The guardian's voice was calm but firm. "Yes, Mara. That is why your work is important. You carry the memory of love, of kindness, and of care. You must continue to share it, for every act of remembrance strengthens the light of the world." Mara stepped closer to the sphere, and the threads of light wrapped gently around her hands. She felt them fill her heart with strength and warmth. "I will do it," she promised. "I will make sure the village and everyone who listens remembers. The guardian extended its hand toward the sphere. A small beam of light touched Mara's forehead. She felt a connection to every tree in the forest, every plant and stream, and every living being around her. The oak's heart beat with hers. She could sense the past, the present, and the possible future all at once. "You are now part of the oak," the guardian said softly. "Its memory flows through you. The light will guide you, and through your voice it will guide others." Mara smiled through tears. "Then I will carry it with me always." The guardian's form began to fade, leaving behind a soft glow. "Return to the world above, Mara. Teach them, guide them, and remind them of what is truly important. The oak will always be with you." Mara felt the chamber shift as the light surrounded her. When she opened her eyes, she was walking back through the glowing tunnel. The air hummed gently around her. When she reached the small door, she crawled out into the sunlight once more. The forest greeted her with soft, rustling leaves. Birds chirped, and the wind carried the faint sound of laughter and joy. Mara looked at the elder oak. Its trunk seemed taller, its branches broader. A faint glow shimmered along its bark as if it were smiling at her. She knelt beside it, placing her hand on the roots. "I will not forget, old friend," she said softly. "I will carry your gift to the world." Over the next days, Mara devoted herself to sharing what she had learned. She began by teaching the children to care for the forest and their surroundings. She told them stories about the oak, about kindness, and about the memory of the world. She explained that every small act of care added to the strength of life, and the children listened with open hearts. The adults, too, began to notice changes. Some were curious, some skeptical, but they could not ignore the energy in Mara's words and the calm warmth that seemed to follow her. They started planting more trees, repairing the land around their homes, and protecting the streams and wildlife. Mara guided them with patience and gentle encouragement. As the seasons passed, the village transformed. The forest grew thicker and more vibrant. Streams ran clearer and animals returned. Flowers bloomed where they had been gone for years. The children grew up learning the importance of care, respect, and memory. Mara watched with quiet joy, feeling the oak's strength and light flowing through the community. At night, Mara often walked to the elder oak. She placed her hand on the trunk and spoke softly. "They remember now. The village is growing with the light." The oak pulsed under her hand, faint but steady. The hum of life beneath her feet seemed louder now, stronger, full of energy. She felt tears rise to her eyes, not from sadness but from joy. She had become part of something greater than herself, a link between humans and the living earth. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Mara sat beneath the oak and looked at the stars. The forest was quiet and calm, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves. She felt a deep connection to every living thing around her. The oak had shared its memory, its light, and its hope with her. She whispered softly, "I will never forget. I will keep your gift alive." In the sky above, the first stars appeared, shining bright. Mara felt their light mingling with the soft glow of the oak. She understood now that humans were never truly alone. They were connected to the world, to the trees, to every creature, and to the memory of kindness that had existed for generations. The elder oak stood tall, its branches spread wide, guarding the village. A faint blue light shimmered through its leaves, a reminder that memory, love, and care would always endure. Mara rose and walked back to her cottage, feeling the strength of the oak in her heart. She knew that she had been given a gift far greater than she could have imagined. The gift of memory, the knowledge that love and kindness could shape the future, was now hers to carry. From that day forward, Mara became the storyteller of Green Hollow. She guided her village, shared the lessons of the oak, and taught everyone that the world listened to those who cared. The children grew up with respect for the earth, and the adults learned to value the life around them. And at night, when the stars shone and the wind whispered through the forest, Mara could feel the pulse of the elder oak beneath her feet. Its heart beat with hers, and the light of memory flowed through her, reminding her that hope, love, and care were never lost. The village of Green Hollow thrived, alive with energy, kindness, and memory. And the elder oak, ancient and wise, stood tall among them all, a guardian of the past, present, and future. Mara sat beneath its branches one last time, smiling softly. She felt complete, peaceful, and full of love. The tears she had shed long ago were replaced by light, and the memory of the oak would live forever in her heart and in the hearts of everyone who chose to care. The world remembered, and so did Mara.